Am I the only one excited for the fact that we can make vehicles our commanders now? New rulings coming as of Edge of Eternities. Your vehicles can now be commanders thanks to the new spacecraft mechanic being added into the set. And in today's video, I wanted to go over the exact 3 cards that I think everyone has their eyes on in terms of legendary vehicles and or spaceships. The cards that go into them, the ways you want to build them, anything and everything just to get you started. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And of course, if I miss any cards, then I want to hear them down below, because me personally, I'm going to be building the second one that we're going to be going. The Seriema is our latest legendary new spacecraft that brought about the rules changes. Now, they also talked about how with spacecrafts now being able to be in your command zone along with vehicles, this was a change that they actually wanted to do for almost a year now, but they wanted to do it with the big change that happened last year with like the banning of kind of mana crypt and all that stuff. But we know what happened with that. They don't want to kind of add more turmoil. So they thought now better than ever is the time to introduce a change like this. It's a great cleanup of the rules, and I think it's a great addition. And we know that with the commander product coming out, that all of the commander legends, the precons, are going to come with not only a legendary creature, but also a legendary spacecraft as a secondary commander, which is pretty sweet. We know all the precons come with a secondary. So that's going to be a great way to use something like this. The Seriema says, when it enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and then put it into your hand. Now, that is the ability that you get out of the, like, on ETB, right? It does not need to be a creature. You can just do this. What's nice is that the legendary that you get is, of course, it's only a creature, so you're not going to do any shenanigans in terms of getting like lands and stuff, but you put it in your hand. There are some, you know, kind of shenanigans you can do in terms of cards that have like combat tricks or something that you want in your hand, and you can flicker it. So when it enters, it's not when you cast, which is sometimes the limitation that Wizards of the Coast has been introducing, like printing powerful abilities with like limitations. This doesn't require you to cast it from anywhere, or like if it was cast this turn or something like that, you can just ephemerate it and take it from there. The next ability is Station. This is kind of the updated crew, or a different version of crew, where it says you tap another creature you control, you put a number of charge counters equal to its power onto the spacecraft. Station only as a sorcery, can't be at instant speed unlike crew, and then it's an artifact creature at 7+. So crewing is temporary but can happen at instant speed, but Station is at sorcery speed, but then permanently turns your space station or your spacecraft into a creature. There's going to be some proliferation shenanigans in the set as well. I'm already excited for you know, my Pauper Poison Storm players. I'm excited for the blue cards that can potentially proliferate. Now at 7+, it then becomes a 5/5 flying creature that gains an additional ability that says other tap creatures you control have indestructible. So there's a lot of elements to this. Again, you got the flicker, you got the tutor for a legendary creature, and then other tap legendaries you control, legendary creatures, have indestructible. So there's a couple ways that we can abuse this. Now, firstly, we want to take a look at all the cards that we have access to in terms of legendary creatures. Again, not legendary permanents, not legendary enchantments or lands. We're looking at the creatures. We have about 266 as per the Scryfall search, and we get, as I mentioned, some cool combat tricks like Gata and Luzu that we can 2-4, keep into our hand, and, you know, prevent damage. Notably, something like Adeline Resplendent Cathar may at first glance seem like something you want, but it's really not. First of all, it has vigilance, so it's not tapping itself. That's kind of the problem with it. Next, it creates 1/1 human white creature tokens, which is like fine. As with the next card we're going to talk about, that's actually kind of useful, but those humans aren't actually going to gain indestructible either. Like, they're not legendary. So there's a couple of problems with something like Adeline. So be very careful with a common white keyword in vigilance, and with the fact that the tokens you're creating are, yes, going to come in tapped, but they aren't going to serve our next purpose, which I believe is once you start casting a bunch of legendary things, you want to look for something with Convoke. So Benny Brock Zoologist is a legendary creature with Convoke, but at the beginning of each end step, if you created a token this turn, you draw a card. So great, you can kind of draw it through your deck, but this Convoke is a great way to take your legendary creatures and tap them. So if you did not want to attack into a board, maybe you have a card that it had its ETB, it's not maybe great stat-wise, Benny Brax and other Convoke creatures are going to be great ways, other Convoke cards are going to be great ways in general for you to tap down your board. Even if you can't tutor for them, if you draw into them, that's going to be a great way for you to tap those down, give them indestructible, to where I would say you want to play like Board Wipe Tribal. Now, there's other couple of cards out there. I'm thinking of notably the big angel that gives all of your other creatures indestructible. You destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. If your whole board is tapped down, it's probably being aggressive or it's convoked, and then you can cast a board wipe, make it one-sided, everything you have is indestructible, and so board wipe tribal might be the way to go in something like this. I thought it was a cool way to build it. You build like legendary typal, get them all out, tap them down, board wipes. I thought it was pretty sweet. Let me know how you would build the Seriema. The next vehicle that I really want to look at into building itself is specifically the Jackdaw. Now, when it comes to this, I think in the intro, I misspoke here. It's not actually going to be Jackdaw that I want to build. I really want to build a third one. I actually had to switch the order because I thought, that one was a bit more interesting. But Jackdaw specifically, is it 1 blue and red for a legendary artifact vehicle? Whenever Jackdaw deals combat damage to a player, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each artifact you control. It has crew 3. Now, again, as I mentioned, vehicles can now be your commander as long as the creature type is on the front side. I didn't mention that in the intro, but notably, you cannot put, there is a new Final Fantasy card that's a land on the front side, but a vehicle on the back side. You can't do that. It's got to have a power and toughness on the front side. So crew 3, you are going to be wheeling, you're going to be discarding cards, and you're going to be playing to some artifacts. So a lot of things to take note of here. Notably, it's energized with itself in the sense that it is an artifact. So at bare minimum, you're going to be drawing 1 card if you have no other artifacts, but you're going to be building the artifacts. Again, you're going to be building the discarding cards, and you're also going to be wheeling. So taking advantage of that. Now, first of all, cheap artifacts, you're going to be playing your artifact lands, right? So you got your Jackdaw, Citadel, the red one, I'm forgetting the name of, but then Seed of Synod is the blue one. Easy, right? You're going to be playing your cheap artifact lands. They're just easy includes in decks like this. Next, you're going to want payoffs. So you're going to be drawing a bunch of cards. Ideally, when you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste from the Locust God. That's great. The problem with this is, of course, that combat already happened, but I'm bringing this up as a basic example. This is just one of the top wheel commanders out there. You could play something like Psychosis Crawler as well. Regardless, just a payoff for you to be able to draw cards. Notably, isn't an artifact, but still matters when it comes to that. The next up is that you are going to be discarding cards as well. You may discard your hand. Surly Badgesaur says, whenever you discard a creature card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure token. Huge ramp. So think about all the cards that you're now going to draw. If it's a bunch of lands, you're going to be able to cast some more. And then whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, this creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Now, notably, yes, you can, if you've never seen this card before, stack the triggers in such a way where if you discard a bunch of creature cards, let those triggers resolve first, make this super big, and then that last trigger, maybe have that happen last after you get your treasure tokens, because then maybe you want to respond to it, add some more buffs to it, and then it's going to fight out a bunch of stuff on the board. Not bad. Surly Badgesaur is a great way to take advantage of discard. It's like a black waste knot, so that's pretty sweet. But then also, with discarding cards, you can cast something funky like Emrakul the World Anew. You're going to be filling up your graveyard. You're going to be adding a bunch of cards in there, maybe doing some reanimator shenanigans, but regardless, Madness, Pay 6 colorless. Notably, this is a little restrictive because you are in a 2-color deck. It is specifically colorless mana. So that might be a little restrictive. I'm just kind of bringing about the funny thing that you can do. Emrakul says, whenever you cast a spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. What's also nice about this is once you've attacked, you're obviously kind of on the back foot there. You've already done your combat, you've done your threatening thing, but then you can play this and then gain control of all creatures. It has flying protection from spells and other permanents that were cast this turn. When Emrakul leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. Notably, it's kind of like a soft board wipe as well. It doesn't get rid of creatures from 2 players, but you get the most threatening one, and then you sack those creatures. So even if those creatures have built-in indestructible, that gets rid of that. So regardless, Emrakul the World Anew is a great example of how, again, you are discarding cards, take advantage not only on buffs on creatures, but also madness effects when you're doing all of that. The last thing I want to mention is specifically some fun combos that you can do. Because you're going to be drawing ideally a bunch of cards, you might actually be ending up with more than hand size. This is a unique combo that actually for a time was making the rounds in Pauper in Cycle Storm. It's mostly been taken out, but it's still kind of funky. A lot of people learned about it. So Magmakin Artillerist says, whenever you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. Cool. So if you ideally don't have the 2 mana rock that makes it so your hand size is unlimited, or the Reliquary Tower, this says whenever you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. Okay, so you go to discard. Let's say you have 9 cards in hand. Magmakin Artillerist is out on the battlefield. You go to discard. What happens is on cleanup step, after your end step, you go to cleanup, you discard cards. Once you discard a card, it actually triggers the Magmakin and creates a new end step because you have to resolve the triggers, go to end step again. As far as I'm aware, this is how it works. Regardless, you get a new cleanup. The key to this is you get a new cleanup. And whether it's a new end step or a new cleanup, you get a new cleanup step. You go through it again and again and again, because the whole point of the cleanup step is to make sure everything is gone. If a new trigger happens, you get another cleanup step. So you get a trigger because damage went on the stack. What you then want to equip this with is something like Curiosity. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. So let's say you're at 9 cards. You discard down to hand size. You go down to 7. Magmakin Artillerist triggers, you deal a damage. Curiosity triggers, you draw a card. Problem is, you get another cleanup step, and then you deal another damage again because you discard down to 7. And so this loops over and over and over again. So this is a really like weird kind of damage thing that happens where if your opponent has an ability that says, you know, up until the end of turn, you can't deal any damage, or your opponent has protection from something. What's great about this loop is that end of turn happens by the time the first cleanup step happens. So cleanup ends all of that. So that means that protection spell that happens until end of turn is gone. And if they recast it, it doesn't matter, because as you discard all this stuff, you will deal more damage to then re-trigger the Curiosity, because that protection spell will happen for that one player, but then that doesn't mean the other players gain protection. Because so you will draw cards off of triggering off of them. That player will lose protection again. They can just keep doing it over and over again. Of course, if it's infinite protection, then you're not going to get anywhere. Eventually, you will knock out the other players that you're dealing damage to and be left with one. But it's a really cool, like, interesting loop that exists in Izzet. I thought it was unique to this, and I wanted to bring it up specifically because, again, you're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, discarding cards naturally. The Magmakin Artillerist Curiosity loop is a really weird, quote-unquote, infinite that gets around a lot of cool countermeasures that traditionally would stop something like this. So just wanted to bring that up. Now, the last card that I want to bring up in terms of building around, this is the card that I actually want to build. Let me know in the comment section down below. If I asked it in yesterday's video, but let me know if you want to see the Esika's Chariot build. This card I'm so excited to do because I love broken things. I love doing things like copying stuff for free, like making free copies of broken things, casting them for 0, whatever it is. Getting free copies. Esika's Chariot is green and 3 for a 4/4 legendary artifact vehicle that says when Esika's Chariot enters, you create 2/2 green cat creature tokens. This card's absolutely insane. It was great in standard because it's just able to crew itself. It's crew 4, so you create 2 separate tokens that's able to combine to crew this thing. Fantastic. When Esika's Chariot attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So again, you have some level of flicker shenanigans, but you're in mono green, so you're gonna have to go with stuff like Conjurer's Closet if you want to go that route. So probably not what you want to be doing, but regardless, it's able to enable itself, and then you attack and you create a copy of target token you control. But that token doesn't just have to be a creature. It doesn't just have to be a non-creature. It can be a token of anything that you control. It has to just be a token. You can't make a token of something. You have to make a token of a token, right? So you already have to have made a copy. So first and foremost, you're thinking of cards like Helm of the Host that can do funny things. So when it comes to combat, yes, at the beginning of combat, you create a token that's a copy of a equipped creature, except those tokens aren't legendary. Notably, you do get to re-attack with those. This is at the beginning of combat, so they gain haste. You're gonna get your token copies again. And what's nice about those is that, yes, you're gonna be able to crew them immediately, right? Because they're gonna enter and you're gonna be able to create your cat tokens and crew them and attack. This is another broken Helm of the Host commander. I just wanted to insert that out there. It's very obvious when things are broken by Helm of the Host. Let's just kind of make sure we understand what's going on here. You're thinking of firstly of Gala Greeters. So you have a bunch of tokens coming in, right? Like this is even before combat. You have a bunch of creatures entering. Gala Greeter says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So firstly, you have the vehicle enter. That's not a creature, but when the 2 cats enter, you can create a tap treasure token and you can gain 2 life, or you can put a 1/1 counter on Gala Greeters. That's not bad. Just a minor value, right? So you have some ETB shenanigans that you can take advantage of. Next up is when it comes to copying, you want to create things that make tokens, right? So whenever you cast a spell as Desolation Twin, create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. It's not like tapped, it's not attacking, whatever, but creating another 10/10 is pretty damn sweet when it comes to a Esika's Chariot attack. Great. That's when it comes to creatures. What about something like Cogwork Assembler? 3 mana, you can activate for 7, create a token that's a copy of target artifact. It ideally is not the Esika's Chariot because that's a legendary copy, but you can take your other artifacts that you're playing, create copies of them, and then that token gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step, right? So you create a token copy on your main phase, or in response to the trigger, have it enter, and maybe it's something like Portal to Phyrexia. Portal says 9 mana. When Portal Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. Now, notably, you're not going to get that because you're going to have to sacrifice them off the Cogwork specifically, but Portal Phyrexia is just like a great thing to copy to just get your opponent to sack a bunch of things, because notably this Esika's Chariot is on attack trigger, so blocks haven't happened. You can copy something like Portal Phyrexia if you have a ton of mana. There's obviously huge mana requirements for what I'm talking about here, but I'm just talking about scenarios where maybe you're able to cheat something like Portal Phyrexia out, or you have it out, you have the mana, you just want to do something, clear out your opponent's board. Maybe they aren't playing tokens, and you just need to clear the way for some blockers and get some damage in. Portal Phyrexia copying that at least with something like the Cogwork Assembler or other effects that make token copies of artifacts and or permanents you control. This is going to be a great way to abuse something like that. Now, that is my little video on things that you really want to be looking at when it comes to vehicles and what you're making. Let me know if I've actually missed anything in any one of these 3 vehicles and or spaceships. Let me know if I should be more excited for another vehicle on the legendary vehicle list. Obviously, down the line, as Edge of Eternity spoilers happen, we are going to be looking at other vehicles, other spacecrafts that are going to be joining the roster. So we are going to be definitely looking at maybe trying to build those if those are doing something funky. And as I mentioned, the commander precons that we already have the face commanders for, those are going to be getting accompanying legendary spaceships in those colors. So we have one that proliferates. It's going to be a Jeskai proliferate style deck. We have another one that's like 1/1 counters, probably a little bit of proliferate, but some graveyard shenanigans because the commander lets you play lands from your graveyard. So maybe the vehicle itself lets you do something similar to that. Maybe it like mills cards and you put a land from among them into your hand. Maybe some, or like onto the battlefield tapped. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that. But regardless, we have a lot of things coming down the line. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And let me know if you're excited to finally play vehicles in the command zone.